All right, thank you. And Les is going to pick some pieces up and show them to you as we talk about them. Uh, Before we talk about what's on the table, I just want to make sure that we're all on a level playing field in terms of what is stretch glass, when did it get made, why was it made, and what do you do with it? So, stretch glass is pressed or blown molded glass. Okay, it must be made in a mold. So there is no confusion with stretch glass and art glass, which is typically blown on the end of a pipe or formed out of a mass of hot glass. So it must be molded. It generally has little or no pattern on it. You'll see that in most of the pieces up here. There's very few that have what we would consider to be patterns. It's sprayed with a hot salt mix. It's sprayed while it's hot with a salt acid mix that gives it the iridescence, and then it's reheated. That's the difference between carnival glass and stretch glass, is that carnival glass is not reheated after it's sprayed. Stretch glass is reheated after it's sprayed, and then it's also reshaped after it's sprayed. The, uh, the term stretch glass came about in the late 1960s, early 1970s, when there was some interest in this type of glass by carnival glass collectors. And there were a group of folks who felt that this glass was different than carnival glass and that it should have a different identification. And so one or two of the researchers got together, they looked at the glass, and as you can see on this piece right here, you see how the iridescence appears to be stretched. They decided that because of that, they were going to call it stretch glass. So it was not called stretch glass when it was sold in the 1920s. The first run of stretch glass was made by Imperial in 1916. They made lampshades, and they called them grizzled. Then in 1916, Northwood and Fenton both introduced lines of multicolored stretch glass. And after that, there were 6 other companies that introduced stretch glass in the 1920s. So in total, there are only 9 companies, all American, that made stretch glass, mostly in the 1920s and into the early 1930s. Now, why did they make stretch glass? Well, we can be very practical about this. The glass companies had run the run on carnival glass. Carnival glass was going out of vogue in the 1920s, and quite frankly, the glass companies needed something else to sell in the market. They were selling other types of glass, but they needed still more glass to sell in the market in order to stay in business. As Frank Fenton would say, we were in the business to sell glass. And so we made whatever we could, whatever would sell. Stretch glass evidently sold well. It was targeted to the middle income folks, middle to middle upper income folks who were decorating at home with color and entertaining. So you'll see a lot of the pieces here would have been used for entertaining. A number of the pieces were used for home decorating. And that's really what stretch glass was all about. It was something special to use to serve your friends luncheon, maybe before or after a game of cards, or to set a buffet table with. Of course, the vases were used for flowers in the home. Console sets with candlesticks and a console bowl were used for really for decoration in the home. So that's what stretch glass was used for then. It's what stretch glass is used for now. I like to tell people that we use stretch glass at my house. We use it all the time. We have it on the dining room table. We have it other places in the house. And when we entertain, The food is served on stretch glass. The guests are given stretch glass plates to put their food on, and they carry those stretch glass plates around with them, and that's what they eat off of. When we first did that, we had some trepidation by the neighbors, but they seem to have gotten used to it now. And when they come to the house, they sort of expect there to be a stack of stretch glass plates on the table for them to use. Stretch glass is very usable, by the way. It's very usable. It's not dishwasher safe, but it's very usable. It's very easy to clean and dry. Do it all by hand. Our caterers have gotten used to cleaning it, and we don't have much in the way of breakage, if any. So I would encourage you, if you are a stretch glass collector, or if you become a stretch glass collector, I would encourage you to think about buying the pieces that you think you could use, rather than just buying pieces to put in a cabinet. It really does make a beautiful table. There's over 50 different colors of stretch glass made by those 9 different companies, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different shapes. So there's something out there for almost everyone. Stretch glass was made in 3 different eras. So I told you 1912, Imperial introduced it with a lampshade. 1916, Fenton and Northwood came along. 1920s into the 1930s. In total, we had, had 9 companies for most of that period of time until Northwood went out of business, and then there were 8 companies left. When the Depression came, it sort of knocked the market out for stretch glass. People weren't spending money on luxuries like stretch glass. And so the companies that were making stretch glass turned their attention to making mass-produced depression glass. Even Fenton made mass-produced depression glass patterns such as Lincoln Inn, Georgian, things like that. Those were mass-produced. They might have reshaped a few pieces of those, but for all intents and purposes, they were making glasses as fast and as cheap as they could. So we have Depression era glass, and then after that, of course, we have elegant glass, and then we have mid-century glass. It wasn't until 1975, when the Stretch Glass Society was holding its first annual convention, that a couple of our members who knew Frank Fenton went to Frank and said, "We want you to make some stretch glass for us." And his response was, "Well, I don't know if we have anybody left here who knows how to make stretch glass." But they found somebody. They found some folks who knew how to make stretch glass. I'm sure Frank gave him some pointers. And lo and behold, in 1975, they made a turn of stretch glass in several different colors. And those pieces were given to the Stretch Glass Society to use as the first souvenir from that convention. Every member that was in attendance was given a choice to take one piece home with them. The remaining pieces were sold in an auction. Those pieces, we're going to see a few of those pieces in a little bit. They are very sought after. But they do show up periodically in auctions. And so there are a number of them around. In 1976, they made a few pieces of stretch glass, not nearly as many as they made in 1975, but they made a few. We'll see a couple of those. Then there was no more stretch glass made until 1980. 1980, Fenton was 75 years old. If you remember the 1980 catalog, it featured glass that they had made during their first 75 years, including stretch glass and carnival glass. They reintroduced stretch glass in the form of Velvet Rose, and it was very popular. After 1980, they made stretch glass off and on for the rest of their existence until 2011, when they closed the furnaces down. Yeah.
They did Velvet Blue too, didn't they? But
Yeah.
didn't seem to last very long.
Well, they introduced some new colors, and they made some old colors. They made Celeste Blue later on. They made Topaz. They made Ruby. They made Grecian Gold. Those were and Velvet Rose. Those were primarily the old colors that they made between 1980 and 2011. But also in that period of time, they introduced a number of new colors.
So would that be a new color, velvet blue?
Velvet blue is a brand new color.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it was a brand new color. If you put a piece of velvet blue next to a piece of aquamarine, they're very different. And of course, it's very different to Celeste blue. So that's where you get a lot of the new colors. The other companies that were making stretch glass, some of these you will recognize, maybe some you will not. Central Glass in Wheeling, Northwood I mentioned, also in Wheeling, Imperial in Bel Air, Ohio, Lancaster in Lancaster, Ohio, Vineland Flint Glass Works in Vineland, New Jersey, Diamond Glassware Company in Indiana, Pennsylvania, Jeanette Glass Company in Jeanette, Pennsylvania, U.S. Glass Company in Factory K, the King Glass Factory in Pittsburgh, and there's still some debate about whether there was any stretch glass made at Factory R, which was U.S. Glass Factory R, which was in Tiffin, Ohio, eventually became the Tiffin Glass Company. We believe most of the stretch glass was actually made in Pittsburgh at the King Factory. So, and of course, Fenton. Fenton was the largest producer of stretch glass. Fenton made a number of different colors. I thought that I had brought an example of all of the 14 colors that Fenton made in stretch glass, but once we got all the boxes unpacked, we did not find the amber plate that I thought was in here somewhere, and so we do not have a piece of amber. Stretch glass was made not only in translucent glass, which is what most of this is, but it was also made in opaque colors, and it was also made in slag. U.S. Glass made a number of different slag colors that they iridized. It's very difficult to see the iridescence on slag glass, and oftentimes it's overlooked, but it is very beautiful if you can find a piece of it. You'll see on the table some of the items that were made. In addition to what you see out there, pitchers and tumblers and mugs were made, lemon servers, center handled servers, bread or meat trays, sherbets, cake stands. E-perns were made in the late period, 14 different colors of e-perns. Bells, lamps, guest sets, card trays, cologne bottles, and other items to go on the vanity, and lots more. Over 60 different shapes were made in stretch glass, and that counts all the bowls as one shape, all the plates as one shape. So 60 different shapes, some very peculiar. They even made shaving mugs for the gentlemen. Shaving mugs are very rare. They've the only ones that have been found have all been found in Wisconsin. So it appears that somebody up there ordered an order of shaving mugs from Fenton, and Fenton made them and shipped them up there. We've never found a shaving mug in the wild anywhere except Wisconsin. So if you want to find a shaving mug, is that not true? Where did you find one in the wild? In Ohio? In the wild. Okay, I stand corrected. Okay.
Somebody used to live in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Okay. The one thing about stretch glass that you want to keep in mind is that they used one mold to make many different shapes, and we're going to show you some of that reshaping as we go through some of this. Okay. So keep that in mind. One mold, many shapes. Very easy to do that because the glass was kept hot. After it was iridized, it was reheated, so that got it hot and pliable again. Then it was given to the finisher. The finisher was able to reshape it into a number of different shapes. Now, the finisher was told what shape to shape it into, okay? And the finisher was told, we want 200 of these, we want 100 of these, we want 100 of these. But when the finisher was done with that, oftentimes the finisher was given latitude to make some whimsies. And you find lots of whimsies in stretch glass. Okay. So, what I brought today is around 80 pieces of what I consider to be relatively unfamiliar stretch glass. Some of the things that are up here, I'm sure that some of you have seen somewhere along the way. I'm hoping that there's something on the table that each person has never seen before. And so Les is going to help by holding up some of those things. The first two items at the end of the table are two Plymouth baskets. Now, Plymouth baskets in stretch glass are pretty rare. I've had these two baskets for a long time. They came to me in the first batch of stretch glass that I bought, which Les referred to earlier. And I will say that I have never seen a Plymouth basket for sale since. Les is a collector of Plymouth, and I don't think you have a stretch glass basket, right? You have baskets, but you don't have stretch glass basket.
No stretch.
So, next up is the Topaz, oh yes, I'm sorry, the tangerine bowls. Now these are Fenton bowls. These are exactly the same bowl, except that the one bowl they use the diamond optic plunger, and the other bowl they did not. Now the bowl with the diamond optic plunger is pictured in the stretch glass book. When I refer to the stretch glass book, I'm referring to the Madeley Shetler book, which many of you are probably familiar with. If you're going to collect stretch glass, or even if you're going to just learn about stretch glass, this is the book that you need to buy. It is out of print. You can buy it online. You can buy it on Amazon Books. You can buy it on Able Books and other discontinued book sites. But you need this book.
They also have their site online, which is not as easy to use as the book, because the book you can just flip like.
Yeah. Well, the Stretch Glass Society is about to launch a new website, probably in the first week of August. And I invite you all to visit www.stretchglasssociety.org. You'll see a brand new website there sometime in the first part of August. And eventually, not when we launch the website, but eventually on that website, we will have a photographic library of stretch glass. The Shetlers, who many of you know, and you know that Dave has been taking pictures for years of stretch glass. The Shetlers are going to donate their collection of photographs to the Stretch Glass Society, and they're going to live on the Stretch Glass Society's webpage, and they're going to be available to anyone who wants to look at them. It may be a little while. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures, and Dave is having to go through and name them all so that they make sense when you look at them. So that may take a little while. This bowl with the diamond optic is in the stretch glass book, and it's considered to be a pretty unusual piece of stretch glass. The piece without the diamond optic is not in the stretch glass book, and I would suggest to you that it's an even harder piece to get than the piece with the diamond optic. I've seen several with the diamond optic, not so many without the diamond optic. Now, the next two pieces are
You can also find the tangerine diamond optic that has not been iridized.
yes, that's true. That's true. All right, the next two pieces are these two-footed bowls. You'll notice, by the way, that I'm not throwing out mold numbers. Okay, I'm not a mold number guy. If Shetler was here, he would be throwing out all the mold numbers, and I don't know if you guys are mold number people or not. I'm not a mold number person. I know a few of the mold numbers, but I don't know what mold number that is, okay? Doesn't make any difference to me. The one on the wisteria one is unusual in that it's cupped. That came out of John Madeley's personal collection, the co-author of this book that I just talked about. The topaz one is even more unusual than the wisteria one because it's crimped and cupped. And that came out of Lance Hilking's collection a few years ago when he sold off a bunch of his glass, and I was fortunate enough to get
The
it.
wisteria one also has an original label that would be stating some of the numbers as to the color and to the shape. And
Yep.
so if you see these stickers on the bottom of a piece, please
Don't
not
take them off.
take them off.
Do not take them off.
You can wash the piece around that sticker, but please do
Absolutely.
not take the stickers off.
Right.
Question?
Yeah, that bowl, when you normally see that bowl, by the way, it is a wide flared bowl with a wide top to it, okay? These are two unusual shapes of that bowl.
Question. Would that be considered a big rose bowl or is it just a,
Well, it's awfully big for roses.
okay,
Um,
I know, but the cupped in and.
yeah. So, who knows?
Yeah, okay.
The finisher decided to make it that way.
But you all in the society, you people that are really into it, you would not call that a rose bowl.
I would
Just
not call that a
Okay,
rose bowl.
that was my question, really.
But a rose bowl should be smaller than that. Just go out.
It does that quite often.
Okay, well, there we go, it's back there. Okay, next up is the tangerine handle bowl. Now this is a very interesting piece of glass. Those of you who know glass from this period of time know that that's a mold that Northwood used. Northwood used that mold to make jade green, black amethyst, blue crystal, Vaseline, and amber crystal. And they made matching candlesticks, by the way. Matching candlesticks are fairly large, heavy, rope sort of fair candlesticks. But Northwood went out of business. Evidently, Fenton bought that mold. And Fenton made that mold. And they also made a couple of velvet rose bowls out of that mold. And that's all that we've ever found that they made out of that mold. If you pick up that piece of glass, you'll probably understand why. It weighs a ton. It would have been a nuisance to ship. They would have had to charge a lot of money for it. And we've never found that. We don't know whether or not they bought the candlestick molds also, because we've never found the candlestick molds made in a Fenton color. So maybe they didn't buy the candlestick molds. Maybe they just bought the bowl. Whatever it is, that is the only one of those bowls known. Les Millie has found another one. No? Okay, all right, good. I gotta check with you now because, you're finding stuff all the time and I gotta make sure. That one, there are two, as far as I know, there are two velvet rose ones known. I have one of them. Somebody else has one. I'm not sure who that other person is, by the way.
There's at least two known in cameo opalescent
Yes,
that are not.
not iridized. Right. Okay. Next up, we've got two little melon rib bowls. Melon rib, I do know the mold number for melon rib, number 847. I memorized that because I once had to give a seminar only on melon rib, so I had to memorize the number. So these are the 847. There's a larger version of this that's the 857. It's about 2.5 times as big as that. These are, well, at least the Peking blue, if you want to call it that. It is iridized, by the way. That has a sample label on it, an old sample label. So it's a sample. The royal blue, remember that Fenton called their cobalt royal blue, okay? Royal blue bowl is also a newer bowl. I don't know that it's a sample. I don't know whether they made a run of them and put them in the gift shop. I don't think they ever appeared in a catalog, but there's not very many of them around as far as I know. So those are two unusual pieces of melon rib 847. The next piece on the table is this Persian Pearl Heavy Pineapple Bowl. I first saw this bowl, not this bowl, but I first saw a bowl like this bowl when they sold out the Fenton Museum. And I was at the auction when they sold it out, and another member of the Stretch Glass Society, who at the time had a bigger wallet than I did, bought the one that came out of the Fenton Museum. You all know how that works, right? You know the bigger wallet story, yeah.
He's got a pretty big wallet then that he had.
Well, the bowl that came out of the museum sold for right around $10,000.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, it was. I believe at that time it was believed to be the only one.
Did Les get it?
This is not it.
Yeah, I got the
Oh,
deep
no,
one.
no, less than yet. This bowl showed up in a Rhoda auction a few years ago. Now this bowl has damage. I don't normally buy damaged pieces, but there are two pieces here on these tables that have damage, and I have no apology for owning these two pieces of damaged glass because I just don't know that I'm going to ever find a perfect one.
Number one for the rarity and number two for the price difference.
Yeah,
He got a reasonable price and he has an example to have in his collection.
yeah. So that's heavy pineapple. You all recognize heavy pineapple from the satin etched line. They made it there. I don't know if they made it in some of their other lines or not. It's a beautiful bowl. All right, next up is the Grecian Gold cut ovals bowl. Now, most of you are probably familiar with Fenton's cut oval candlesticks, right? I bet a bunch of you even have a pair of cut oval candlesticks. I bet some of you have more than one pair of cut oval candlesticks. But how many of you have the cut oval bowls to go with your candlesticks? This is the large cut oval bowl, and this goes with the 10-inch cut oval candlesticks.
Beautiful.
These are 20 times harder to find than the candlesticks, and candlesticks are pretty hard to find. That candlestick that Les has got there is a little bit unusual in that it's trying to be Grecian gold, but if you look, the middle of it, they didn't put any iridescence on. So it's clear in the middle, it's Grecian gold on top and Grecian gold on the bottom. There are pairs of those cut ovals that are Grecian gold all the way down that would be a better match for that bowl, but they're not as unusual as that one is, so I brought that one. Okay. Next, we have a wisteria salad bowl, 6 or 8 sided. What's unusual about this? This has got, I call them leaves around the bottom. Now, this is another bowl that shows up in the satin etched line, and you can find it with Ming, and you can find it with wisteria, but you don't find, you find this bowl in stretch glass without the leaves around the bottom, okay, in several different colors. But this is the only one that I've ever seen that has the leaves around the bottom that is iridized in wisteria, okay? So, again, it's a little bit unusual.
Well, Cal sent me a picture of a piece that he just found, and it was pressed down into a plate.
Yes. Yeah, so in the satin etched line, they press that bowl down into a flat plate that's 15 inches across.
Wow.
And the other day in an antique shop, I found a pink one in Ming. So pink Ming plate, 15 inches wide, which I thought was pretty cool. Okay, the blue bowl in front of that is Celeste blue, and this is an oval bowl. Now, this is not a round bowl that somebody decided to make oval. This is an actual oval bowl. They had to have an oval collar in the mold to get this to come out oval. Okay, this is not reshaped oval, it's oval. Now, we don't know much about the oval line in Fenton, but we do know enough, we have seen enough oval pieces that it is obvious that somebody at Fenton was making molds for oval pieces of glass. Like I said, you don't see many of them, but you do see a few. Wes, if you'll pick up that red bowl. Now, this red bowl may or may not be the same bowl.
It's a different mold.
Okay, it's a different mold.
Yes.
That's what I thought. The red piece, I think, could have started out as a round bowl and it ended up as an oval bowl with those pouring spouts on the end of it. Now, this again is here because of the shape, okay? I mean, that's the only bowl I've ever seen in any color in that shape, okay? And it's obviously something that the finisher did. It didn't just happen that way. The finisher specifically put those pouring lips on the end of it, if that's what you want to call it. The bowl and the candlestick behind that are royal blue. This is, the bowl is the other piece of damaged glass that's on the table. And again, I make no apologies for it. I got a phone call from another collector who saw that bowl in an antique bowl, and they said, well, we saw this bowl today, but it has a big chip on it, so we didn't buy it. And I said, oh, go back and buy it. Oh, but it's got a big chip on it. I said, that's okay. Just go back and buy it. So they went back and bought it for me. And it does have a big chip on it, okay? But how many of you have ever seen a royal blue bowl with a rolled edge on it? Okay? Doesn't happen. Fenton didn't make much royal blue stretch glass. For whatever reason, it's beautiful glass, and I don't understand why they didn't make more. The candlestick is, of course, the typical 8-inch Florentine candlestick. And in royal blue, I have a pair of them at home. I had to buy them one at a time. It was interesting. The first one cost me a little, and the second one cost me a lot. So we average them out, and I guess I got a fair price for the pair. But those are the old royal blue.
But again, if you just walk past this, you really wouldn't be able to see the color. It's one you would have to pick up and hold up to the light.
Yes.
Either look at the bottom, which you can see then is the blue, and sometimes through the socket.
Yeah. All right, next up are two more of the 8-inch Florentine candlesticks or colonial candlesticks, whatever you want to call them. The one in Les's right hand is an old 1920s version tangerine candlestick. There are a few pair of these that are now known. I have a pair of them. Again, I just brought one. They're pretty hard to find, and if you see a pair of them, you know, you probably ought to pick them up. But make sure they're old, because in Les's left hand is one that was made in a later period. Now, some of you who are experts in Fenton colors will say, Cal, that's not tangerine, that's honey amber. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can call it honey amber if you want, but there's a handwritten sticker with an inventory number on the bottom of it that says tangerine. It's been on there ever since I bought it. I bought it at a Randy Clark auction. I bought a pair of them at Randy Clark's auction. Interestingly enough, Randy wasn't selling at the time. One of the other auctioneers was selling. The other auctioneer did me a favor. He picked it up when the when the person who was carrying the glass for said to the auctioneer, "This says tangerine on it." That auctioneer said, "Ah, that's not tangerine." And so they sold it as not being tangerine, which was great. I think I got it for 45 bucks. Maybe it's not tangerine. I will tell you it is very close to honey amber. I have some honey amber sticks from the late period at home, and it's relatively close, but it says tangerine.
The people that Cal got the tangerine set from, they bought them off eBay as Grecian gold.
Yes, that's right.
And could you imagine the surprise when they opened the box and pulled it out and said, "That's not Grecian gold, that's tangerine."
Yeah,
And at the time, that was the only set known.
correct. Good story. Okay, so next to the tangerine candlesticks are two very large tangerine bowls. You notice, by the way, that the bowls are all sitting on black bases. So black bases are the correct bases. I didn't mention this earlier, but 9 different companies made stretch glass. 9 different companies had 9 different kinds. Well, they had many more than 9 different kinds of bases. Each company either made or had made for their pieces black bases. In some cases, they had white base and white opaque glass bases made. And in a few cases, Fenton actually made cobalt blue bases. They also made jade green bases, but I don't believe that jade green bases were made to go under stretch glass. I think they were made to go under jade green glass. Okay, these two bowls, this one is the one with the diamond optic. Again, interestingly enough, the one with the diamond optic is the more available bowl. The other one that he picked up earlier is without the diamond optic. That is the rarer bowl. Okay, you would think that the diamond optic one would be the rarer bowl, but they made a number of the ones with diamond optic. They did not make very many without the diamond optic. Okay, next up is 3 more pieces of oval. The velvet rose piece is a decorated butterball tray. We had the decorators here earlier. I didn't think to ask them if any of them or recognize that decoration. But we do believe that that is a Fenton decoration because it appears on other pieces of Fenton glass. And you come up and look at it afterwards. It's basically a bunch of little dots of paint. And it's very nice. That's a butterball tray, by the way. Okay? Oval butterball tray. There's that word oval again. We're back into the oval line. Now, the 2 Celeste blue pieces that Les is going to pick up, this is an oval sherbet. This is the sherbet. Looks like a sherbet, but when you look at it, it's oval. In the stretch glass book, they call it an oval comport. Maybe it's a comport, maybe it's a sherbet. Then you have this blue oval plate. Now, I've never found anything to actually fit on that oval plate. An oval mayonnaise does not fit on it, so I don't think it's the underplate for the oval mayonnaise. But that plate also came to me via another collector who saw it one day and called me and said, "Do you have any interest in this?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And so they bought it for me, and I bought it from them. Well, they bought it, and I bought it from them. The 2 big plates in the back that Les is going to hold up, these are the 28 ray or 28 panel plates that you see all the time in Celeste blue and topaz. Fenton made them. Northwood made virtually identical plates. And Northwood made them also in blue and topaz. Northwood also made them in opaque blue and in emerald green and in opaque white, which is a whole different story. But we're talking about Fenton glass today, so we'll stick to the Fenton colors. Royal blue and wisteria in the 28 panel large serving plates are something to get very excited about. If somebody calls you from an antique mall, as somebody did, and said to me, when they found the royal blue one, they called and said, "Do you think this is old or new?" And I looked at the picture and I said, "I think it's old." And they said, "Oh, well, would you be interested in it?" I said, "Yes." "How much?" They gave me a price. I said, "Yes, buy it." And that's how I got that. The wisteria one, a Carnival Glass collector had it at a Carnival Glass convention. I was there. The person showed the plate to Tom Burns, asked Tom Burns how much it was worth. He gave them a number. Then they came to me and said, "How much is this plate worth?" Interestingly enough, I gave them exactly the same number without having talked to Tom. And they said, "Okay, well, that's what Tom said. Do you want to buy it?" And I said, "Yes." So that's how I got the wisteria. Okay, in front of the two plates is the smaller red Cuddles bowl. The base is attached to it. It's
Give me a heart attack.
no, the base is attached because we had it out on the table or something and we didn't want it falling off the base. So it has museum wax on it. Very easy to take it apart if we just put some hot water on it, but for right now it's attached.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
I always call them bases, but I've heard the term flint.
What?
Flint? No?
I never heard that word.
Yeah, I have. What is it? Flint. Am I saying it right? The base that has legs on it. It's flint. Have about what, 3 or 5 legs?
Oh, 5 legs, the 5-legged bases. Okay.
So that, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think these are just bases. Some people call these stands. I've heard them called stands. So here's the red 8-inch cut oval candlesticks. There are several pairs of them known. I brought the candlestick so you could see it with the bowl, but the candlestick's not nearly as rare as the bowls. There's one pair of 10-inch red cut oval candlesticks that I am aware of. They're in a collection. The collector is younger than I am, so I will probably never get to buy. But there's one pair of them around. That means there could be another pair of them around. There are several pairs of the red cut ovals without iridescence on them. You can buy those in auctions. But if you notice that bowl, it's got the cut ovals around the round part of the bowl, and that's the bowl that we believe goes with the 8-inch candlesticks. Okay, next we're going to look at 2 spittoons. Now, these spittoons had to be either a special order or somebody decided to make them. I don't know. You would have had to have a special top mold for this one because it's got a 6 or 8-sided top to it. I think it was called a ring that you had at the top of the mold. You don't find spittoons very often. These, I forget if it was the Persian Pearl one or the pink one that came out of a long-time collector's collection, and the other one I don't remember where it came from, but this one is the same thing, but with a flared top. They're made from a bowl. They were just reshaped into a spittoon.
But when these were made, they would have been utilized.
Yeah.
Because back then, grandpa would be chewing tobacco, or even grandma. And they had smaller ones that they called lady spittoons. So there's different sizes of these.
Yes, there are different sizes of them. All right, in front of the spittoon is an acid etch plate in Celeste blue. Fenton did several different acid etch designs on stretch glass, and so that's one of the designs on a Celeste blue plate. In front of that is a topaz marmalade jar with an underplate. The marmalade jars are fairly hard to come by, especially with the tops. And they fit on the same plate as the cheese dish fits. So the underplate could be for cheese and cracker, or it could be for marmalade. The marmalades are known in a couple of different colors. Um, I know they're known in Florentine green. Uh, I'm not sure if they're known in Celeste blue or not. But
I got an interest. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, do you have a spoon for that?
don't have a spoon for it.
They're probably rare. We have a spoon.
You have a spoon that's iridized,
It's not iridized, no.
but it's glass.
It's topaz.
Oh, really? Wow, very nice. You're not talking about the label, right? You're talking about spoon. Wow, I'd love to see that.
I just have an interesting story about that. We were in Williamstown Antique Mall this past spring, and a friend of ours collects cameo opalescents, and we came around the corner, and Richard saw it. It was just a regular thing in cameo with the big name. So we asked, that, except it didn't have the hole in it. In cameo opalescent, not iridized, cameo opalescent. So he took a picture, sent it to her. She said, I want it. They struck a deal, whatever. When we got back, I sent a picture to Dave Shetler, and he got really excited because he said that for a long time they didn't know who made it. They thought it was U.S. glass. And then they found one in Tangerine, and Frank Fenton said, yeah, we made that. But that was a wonderful find.
The piece that you're describing is not the marmalade. It is the relish jar.
Yes.
Okay, it is on a much larger plate.
It's even bigger than that.
Even bigger than that.
It was huge.
And the dish is shorter, and the cover is bigger. Okay, but yes, I remember that the whole idea of finding one in cameo opalescent.
Yeah, that was us.
Yeah. For years, we thought U.S. Glass made it until we found the Tangerine. All right, let's see. Next up, we have a Persian pearl small console bowl and candlestick. The candlestick is what's really interesting. If you'll notice, the candlestick has what I would call mini cut ovals on it. If you see the mini cut ovals are on that candlestick. On the bottom of the candlestick, there is some cutting, and on the bowl, there is some cutting that is either matches or is relatively close to that cutting. The console bowl and the candlesticks were together in someone else's collection, and so I keep them together.
Cal, you know the maker of that candlestick?
Who Fenton made it? Fenton made that, yes. We have them in other Fenton colors. We have them in wisteria, blue and green, Florentine green, Celeste blue. We're pretty sure that Fenton did those mini cut ovals. If you look at this bowl, it has some very nice wheel cutting on it.
That's the same cutting that's on the base of the candlestick.
Yeah, it's very nice. Okay, in front of that is a piece that is an exception to the rule in stretch glass. It is stippled rays by Fenton in wisteria. It does have a pattern on it. They did make stippled rays in both carnival and stretch. And so you can find stippled rays in topaz, blue, green. You might be able to find stippled rays in velvet rose.
Can you explain what stippled is?
Oh, well, so stippling is covering the entire surface of the glass with little dots. Stippling, the first use of stippling that I'm aware of was done by Boston Sandwich Glass in the 1800s. And it was designed to cover up the flaws in the early flint glass. In the early flint glass, when they were melting the glass with wood fires, ash and soot got into the glass every now and then. And some of the resellers that Boston and Sandwich was selling glass to complained that their glass was not perfect, like the English glass. And so the mold makers at Boston and Sandwich came up with this idea of stippling the glass. It's known today as lacy sandwich glass, but the whole entire surface is covered with these little dots. And it does make it much more difficult to find the ash that's in the glass. Well, the ash is still there, but it's more difficult to find. So that's what stippling is. Okay, the next two are two tangerine candy jars, but technically bonbons. And what's interesting about these two pieces is the covers. That cover that Les has goes inside the bowl, okay, goes inside the bonbon, as you would expect a cover to do. And when he shows you the one in the back, you will see that the cover goes on the outside.
Oh.
It's a loose fitting cover. And as a result of that, you will find many more of those bonbons without their covers because the covers are broken. It's relatively difficult to find that bonbon. You cannot interchange the bonbon. Does it?
Well, it's not a good fit.
It's not a good fit. No, it's not.
Is it acceptable to find them chipped?
Is it what?
Acceptable to find those chipped? Because I would assume that they chipped really
Yes.
easy.
In fact, that cover on the tall bonbon has a chip in it. And that's just the way it's been. And until I find a perfect cover, that's the way it's going to be. Next up, we've got three sets of relatively hard to find, very hard to find, sugars and creamers. Thank you so much. I have Les to thank for this set of sugar and creamers. He was happy enough to find these for me or find them and then call me and ask me if I would like them. And of course I said yes. So these are the Fenton hexagonal sugars and creamers. You find these in other types of Fenton glass, but not very often in stretch glass.
Mainly in crystal. And these were done early in the production at Fenton. And a lot of times in the crystal, they would have etched them. But as of right now, this is the only pair in stretch that's known. There's also 4 or 5 sets known in cameo opalescence. So
There they are. The other two sets, the Topaz set and the Celeste Blue set, are unusual also. They're flat sugars and creamers as opposed to footed sugars and creamers, which are the typical sugar and creamer that Fenton made in stretch glass. And you can see that they have ribs or panels on the sides. They're also pretty hard to find. And I believe I have a set of those in Florentine green also.
and it appears the blue set come out of one of the museums.
Yes, right. The blue set has museum numbers on it. Yep. Okay, next up is a blue vase on a blue iridized base. This did come out in the Fenton Museum. I bought it at the museum auction. Well, first of all, it's unusual because it's got quite extensive cutting on it. Second of all, it's unusual because it's on a base. It's also iridized. You don't find the iridized bases too often. But this is obviously something that Frank felt was worthy of being in the museum. And when they sold out the museum, I was fortunate enough to be the high bidder on it. The next vase, from now on, we're going to be talking about vases pretty much all the way down through here. So the next Celeste Blue vase that Les is going to pick up is the Melonrib 857. And normally you see the 857 vases as fan vases. This one is a swung base, and swung and pulled probably. Uh, I have these tall bases in 2 or 3 different colors, uh, but they're not easy to find. You'll find lots more of the fan bases than you will these, and of course they also use that mold to make all different kinds of molds. In front of that is are 5 number 400 vases. These are often confused as comports. Um, there's a ruby one, and Les has got a royal blue one in the right hand. Now, these 400 vases, they tortured the tops of these things in all different kinds of shapes. You see, Les has got one that would be considered square in the right hand, oval in the, I guess I got that backwards, square in the left hand, oval in the right hand. Then he's going to pick up a crimped one. Okay, so there's a red crimped one. There's a Grecian gold that's just flared out round, which is quite unusual actually. And they also did them in jack and pulpit. And I actually have one. I couldn't find it to bring it, unfortunately, but I have a jack in the pulpit that has a pie crust crimp around the edge. And the last one back there is another royal blue one in the oval shape. Okay. Yes, Persian Pearl 891 ribbed vase. This is the largest vase that Fenton made. It's the tallest vase that Fenton made in stretch glass. It has ribs on the outside, and these are generally found in Celeste blue, topaz, and in royal blue. However, they were also made in Florentine green, Persian pearl, and Grecian gold. Those 3 colors are pretty rare. This is the only one known in Persian pearl. It was in a very large collection that was sold a number of years ago, and I have all the other colors. And so I thought that I should probably keep bidding in order to get this one.
There's a smaller one, the 888, is shorter, but the twin to this is just shorter.
Yeah.
And this was also done in Mandarin red. And there's one known in the Sunco color, which was Mandarin red that they,
Wow.
They also did those in jade green, right?
yes,
I'm pretty sure they were made in jade green. I don't know. Was one of those made in black, do you think?
White, orange.
Yeah. Did they do?
not that I've seen.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. Now we've got a group of 5 more bases that are affectionately referred to as the cornucopia bases. There's 2 tangerine ones. One of them is flared round, and one of them is jack in the pulpit. And you see those little tails on them. That's what gives them the name cornucopia. I don't think that too many of these vases could have been made, and I suspect that fewer of them still continue to exist. I consider myself very fortunate to have 4 of them with the cornucopia tail. Les will hold up the other 2 here, the Celeste blue one that's crimped on the top, and then the Celeste blue that's jack and pulpit. And then it seems like either Fenton, they either decided to make this other vase before they put the tail on the mold, or after they put the tail on the mold and took the tail off. But this one is the cornucopia vase without the tail. So it's really not a cornucopia vase.
If it was me, I would say they retooled the mold to get that off.
Yeah.
Because I imagine they had a lot of issues trying to get this out of the mold, where what, you know.
Right. That's what I've always assumed, is that it gave up on the tail and then they started making them. But you don't find that vase there very often either.
pretty much like the same mold, so
Yeah.
I would say it was changed.
Now we're going to get into a vase that's here because it's a very unusual color, and that's this. You can call it whatever color you want. You can call it opaque lavender. You can call it. I don't think it's dark enough to be called wisteria. It's
Very similar to the color lilac.
yes, very similar to lilac. It has the diamond optic plunger inside, which is pretty nice, although because it's opaque, you can't tell that until you look inside. So if you actually had a bouquet of flowers in this vase, you wouldn't know that it had a diamond optic plunger inside. Again, that vase there came from the collection of Bud Ashmore. Bud Ashmore was a very early collector of stretch glass. Lived out, where did Bud Ashmore live? Somewhere out in the Midwest, right? Yeah, somewhere out in the Midwest. I was a relatively new collector when Bud Ashmore passed away, and his family consigned his stretch glass to an auctioneer. Not an auction, well, consigned not only his stretch glass, but all of his glass. This guy had, in China, this guy had massive sets of china, massive sets of crystal stemware, probably even had some carnival glass, he had some Northwood glass, yeah, all kinds of stuff. And a bunch of us, several of us went to the Bud Ashmore auction. We had U.S. glass, slag glass, iridized pieces, basically one of a kind known at this time at least. And he had a red Fenton punch bowl that had a crimped edge. He had a red Fenton 17-inch underplate. And he had that vase, and he had a bunch of other things. I'll never lose track of Bud Ashmore's stuff because it has a face on it. See that face on it?
Yeah.
If you're out in the world and you pick up a piece of glass, especially stretch glass, and it's got that face on it, I almost guarantee you it came out of Bud Ashmore's collection. Okay, next up is Millenrube 847 fan base. Very, very typical shape. Nothing unusual about it except the color. The color is violet. It is not wisteria. You can put it next to wisteria, and wisteria has a lot more red in it. This has a lot more blue in it. There's only two pieces in Millenrube that are known in violet. They're both the bases, the fan bases. One is the 847 and one is the 857. And there's a few of each of them around. Not very many, but a few. Okay, the next piece is a topaz Fenton vase, which, if it was not encased in silver plate, would be a pretty ordinary vase. But this piece was obviously sold to a silver plate company or to a company that applied silver plate to ready-made glass, and they added a very nice silver plate top and a very nice silver plate bottom to it.
Is that base actually attached to it?
Yes.
Like, and it was sold that way?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
it does not come off.
When,
The top doesn't come off, the bottom does.
when you get up, you'll see where it's put on and then crimped over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's,
That's beautiful.
I suspect there's probably some adhesive underneath there because it doesn't wiggle. Okay, now we got two pieces of wisteria. I skipped those two red bases. I'll go back to those. We got two pieces of wisteria here. This is the larger of the Fenton, typically flared vases, but with that very unusual top that has like a flared lip on it. Again, if that didn't have that top on it, it wouldn't be here because it wouldn't be unusual. It would just be a wisteria vase with a flared top. But that top, very unusual top, and I I think that top was probably made by the finisher. I think so. I think the finisher put that indentation in it. The other piece that Les has got in his right hand is indeed a rose bowl. It's the right size to be a rose bowl. I thought when I bought it, I thought it was a contemporary piece, but it has been examined by several folks. There is no Fenton mark on it, no logo on it, and so the conclusion is that it is a vintage piece. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the group of tangerine bases. Let's do this little guy first. Rewind me back to this. This is a tangerine fan base. Nothing unusual about this tangerine fan base. I guarantee you can buy one on eBay for 25 bucks. If you might not be able to buy it today, but if you hang around and you look for it for a week or two, you'll get one off eBay for 25 bucks. What's unusual about this is it has the flower frog. Okay, you all know what flower frogs are. They're usually round and they have holes in them. You put them in the bottom of a bowl or the top of a vase and you stick the flowers through them and hold them in place. Fenton made flower frogs for their fan bases. They apparently did not make a flower frog for every fan base because there are like 100 fan bases for every flower frog. The flower frogs are known in Celeste Blue, Topaz, Florentine Green, Velvet Rose, and now they're known in Tangerine.
Like Jay Green.
Yeah, there's two tangerines.
We saw Jay.
So that fits, I'm just curious about how that, no, don't do it. I'm just curious. Okay,
Oh,
That's why you don't
And then-
find so many,
and then you would
because,
dump it over to get it out?
Yep.
There you go. I imagine they got broken.
oh yes, it would break
Absolutely.
real easy.
That's cool.
Wasn't that a Jade one we saw at
Yes.
Kansas City?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience, they break very
Oh,
easily.
I'm sure.
That's why you
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now, here's a selection of Fenton vases with the diamond optic interior.
I picked this one up because this is my favorite.
Yeah,
Funeral.
yeah, I'm gonna pick this one. Now, we're gonna put the two bottoms together. Very careful. See that?
Wow.
What does that tell you?
One's been
Came out of the same mold.
long, yeah,
This?
how do we do it? Yeah.
This is the typical style with the flare top. This actually is a pretty cool vase because it's got that light yellowish color up on the top of it, almost as if it's got opalescence in it, if not quite.
So that's a funeral, right?
That is a funeral vase.
Would that be considered a funeral? Because
No,
of
this
the
is not big
base
enough for a funeral vase.
size? Okay.
This is a funeral vase, or a swung vase.
Yeah.
This is one of two numbers
Yeah.
with the diamond optic pattern.
That's gorgeous.
Okay. These are, of course, not nearly as unusual, but I thought it was nice because we have the whole set of the three different sizes, and then we also have the swung base from the big one. And you find a lot of these flared bases, but you don't find a lot of them with a diamond optic interior. Okay, the diamond optic plunger was used sparingly. All right, back to the two red bases. These started out as flip bases. Okay, that's what Fenton called flip bases. If you show them the bottom of it, Les, you'll see that there's really no Marie there. There's no ring there. There's nothing. In order to work this vase, they probably would have had to have stuck it up with a piece of hot glass in order to carry it around. Although you don't see any indication of it being ground off there. So, but this is a very unusual shape. With the whatever that is, the bulge. I call it the bulge and flare vase. This one is the same vase, but now we're back to the oval top. And Fenton did a lot of things in oval, and there's a vase for you with an oval top. And of course, both those vases happen to be ruby, which makes them a little more special. Okay. Now, all of that glass was made between 1916 and 1930 something when Fenton stopped making stretch glass and the Depression kicked in. The last, let's look up, slow piece of stretch glass, 2, 4, 6. The last 6 pieces were made after 1975, either in 1975 or after 1975. We'll start with this. Okay, this is one of the pieces that was made in 1975 for the Stretch Glass Society's convention. They used one mold. They made Persian pearl, Celeste blue, topaz, and ruby red. It was evidently a simple bowl mold, and they just tortured it into all kinds of different shapes, including vases and things like that. But that is, yeah. Oh, you can't see it. Well, show the label. Okay. So this has got the original label, all right? And all of these pieces originally had this label, okay? This is another piece that was made in the same mold. This became a heart-shaped vase. This has the same typewritten label on the bottom, and it says 75-04-50 something. I got part of it covered up. That's the year, the month, and the shape. Okay. Here is the piece of paper that apparently everybody was given at the 1975 convention. I wasn't there. I was still in college in 1975. But this gives you the numbers down the side, and it tells you whether it's topaz. Oh, I'm sorry, there's an emerald green piece on here. I didn't know that. Blue, pearl, whatever. So this is kind of what we go by. Now, okay. All right. Then in 1976, they made these vases.
This
Okay.
is the work you'll recognize, as you see on a lot of the barber pieces from that era. It's the acid etched or sandblasted Fenton logo, and this says 1976.
It's an acid etched label, 1976. Okay. And this piece actually has an impressed Fenton oval in it, but this we believe was also made in 1976. And we have a number of different shapes of these. This piece here was probably made in 1975, and there were only a few of those made. Frank had those made after he made the pieces for the club, and we were told that most of those pieces were retained by Frank and by the family members. But that piece obviously has gotten out into the wild and has now gotten into my collection.
The person that found this took the stickers off the bottom, and that would have been more descriptive.
Yeah.
Because these were made for around the first Stretch convention. So that's why those old stickers, please leave them on.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to wrap this up.